OWTU, Clifton.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming to San Fernando. Well, many of you are from San Fernando, but we highly appreciate your coming here and supporting our cause, which is ultimately the fair liberation of one of our diplomats, Venezuelan diplomats, by the name of SAABA. Maybe some of you have heard of this case, others may not, but this is the point that we'd like to show you and tell you what has happened, the injustice that has happened to him and the whole of the Venezuelan country. It's not just a personal, it's very important. It's not just even if it was personal, it would be fair, because he was unfairly treated, unfairly detained, unfairly imprisoned. So even if it was only for him, it would be fair. But this is not just about SAABA. This is about 32 Venezuelan people, 32 million Venezuelans who were still struggling to overcome the illegal United States sanctions against our country. And SAABA was a key person in trying to break that illegal blockade against Venezuela. So in a nutshell, and of course, I will go into more details a bit later on. What I propose is we have this wonderful documentary film about what took place, who SAABA was, what actions are being taking place or are taking place worldwide to educate people about this situation. Hopefully, and I think this is a very good documentary film. Hopefully, after the film, you will have a better idea. And right after the film, I can come back and perhaps give you a little bit more in depth of the consequences of the illegal blockade against Venezuela are, in order to put it in context the situation of SAABA. So, as I said, we will watch this film. It's about 45 minutes long. And then we'll come back, and of course, it will be a Q&A. Feel free to ask questions, make comments. And as I said, the idea is that all of us will be more conscious and ideally also more inclined to help us in this campaign for the liberation of SAABA and ultimately for the complete lifting of the illegal blockade against Venezuela. So let's watch the film.
Afraid I'm doing a live feed, I cannot talk now.
Ha llegado la hora de la recuperación económica.
Todas las opciones están sobre la mesa, todas, las fuertes y las menos fuertes.
Asumir formalmente las competencias.
I'm announcing $52 million in new funding from USAID to support the interim government.
Tendieron a realizar una invasión por vía marítima.
Más sanciones, más presión.
Y si vamos a sancionar a PDVSA, tendrá un impacto al pueblo entero.
Tenemos en este momento la misma ruta, la presión.
Esto viola las leyes internacionales, los acuerdos de la Organización de Naciones Unidas.
Las sanciones unilaterales impuestas cada vez en mayor medida por Estados Unidos y la Unión Europea y otros países han exacerbado las calamidades antes mencionadas.
La mejor resolución sería acelerar el colapso, aunque produzca un periodo de sufrimiento mayor por un periodo de meses o quizás.
Somos un país que estábamos bien y por hacer la lucha política contra un presidente que no se metía con nadie, sino que pensó en el pueblo, les dio roncha por ahí. Entonces quisieron hacerle el ataque donde más le dolía a él, que era su pueblo. Wow, nos afectó fuerte, nos dio en el estómago, como quien dice, porque el ser humano no está acostumbrado a pasar tanta precariedad con la alimentación.
A nosotros nos tocó utilizar el plátano que llegó un momento a la escasez, porque era lo que había para comer. El plátano que hasta las conchas las sancochábamos y con un tenedor las flecábamos y eso lo utilizábamos con sus aliñitos para hacer carne mechada. ¿Sabes qué es duro? Que tú escuches a tu vecina con su carajito, bueno, que le mete la teta, se la metió y bueno, y se cayó por un rato, ¿verdad? Pero ¿cómo haces con el otro? Con el que ya tiene dientes, con el que te jala la batica. Muchacha, esos fueron momentos horribles, porque tú no encuentras qué meterle en la boca a ese muchacho. Eso fue un daño horroroso, que ellos pretendían matarnos.
Casi que nos mata, pero no pudo. Claro, sí hubo muchas personas que no se aguantaron, más que todas las personas mayores, sí, fallecieron muchas personas. Primero por la desnutrición, la falta de alimentación, la falta de las medicinas. Perdimos muchas vidas con ese bloqueo.
8 de cada 10 medicamentos escasean en el país. Encontrar analgésicos, antibióticos o antihipertensivos puede implicar recorrer varias farmacias y muchas veces quedarse con las manos vacías.
Yo tengo 5 hijos varones y una hembra. Pero en ese momento uno de mis hijos, tengo 3 que son diabéticos. Y uno tenía la enfermedad más avanzada. A raíz del bloqueo no se le conseguían las medicinas, no se podía comer la comida que él necesitaba. Y a raíz de eso, él murió porque se me deterioró. ¿Entiendes? Y tengo ya 3 hijos que han muerto. ¿Ves? A raíz de todo este proceso, era difícil.
Pañales, medicamentos, la comida, transporte, o sea, todo fue algo catastrófico en Venezuela como tal.
Hay niños que mueren porque no tienen una medicina o porque no pueden ir a practicarse una intervención fuera del país como lo hacíamos antes, porque nos robaron Citgo, porque nos robaron monómeros, porque nos quedaron recursos, porque nos incautaron el oro en Inglaterra y los niños se mueren. Y de eso no habla la mediática internacional, es una vergüenza. Es decir, ¿dónde están los defensores de los derechos humanos? ¿Dónde están los defensores de los derechos humanos de la ONU, por ejemplo? La gran comisionada, la alta comisionada. Ninguno ha servido para nada. Todos han sido cómplices.
Y después nos cae la pandemia y nos viene como quien dice el encierro y sin dinero, sin comida, sin medicina, niños pequeños, los enfermos, los abuelos, o sea, fue fuerte. ¿Pues?
También está el que nos dejaran sin energía eléctrica, por ejemplo. O sea, es para nosotros, yo lo miro así, que estoy en medio de la gente y que siempre vivo en los barrios. Pareciera que cuando llegó la pandemia a Venezuela, era una pandemia más.
Era muy difícil. Venezuela sufrió estos tremendos ataques, esta mal llamada sanciones, la medida coerciva neutral impuesta por los Estados Unidos y era muy difícil ver que el pueblo venezolano estaba enfrentando todas estas dificultades porque a los Estados Unidos realmente no le importaba y no le importa lo que sienten las personas. Para ellos lo único importante es lograr sus objetivos.
Alex Saab, representante legal de Fondo Global de Construcciones.
¿Qué hizo el Estado? El Estado se apoyó de una figura que evidentemente venía trabajando con el Estado, pero se apoyó de Alex Saab dándole el cargo de diplomático como tal, y puso toda su estructura en función de la importación de estos medicamentos, de este combustible, de estos alimentos a Venezuela.
Lo que hacía Alex era aliviar trayendo alimentos, medicinas, en el momento de la pandemia, también insumos para enfrentar la pandemia, el COVID-19 y también combustible.
En el año 2018, abril del 2018, Alex Saab es nombrado enviado especial de Venezuela y esta es una copia de su nombramiento oficial como enviado especial de Venezuela. ¿Qué hacía Alex Saab? Alex Saab ejecutaba un sinnúmero de tareas humanitarias, misiones humanitarias, que eran encomendadas por el presidente y también por el canciller.
Una de las cosas que tenemos que preguntarnos es cómo es posible con semejante bloqueo nosotros continuáramos sobreviviendo con alimentos y con medicina. Escasa, sí, claro, lógico, porque lo que podía pasar él era muy poco comparado con lo que necesitábamos como país. Pero, ¿cómo es posible que sí, que sin embargo a nuestros sectores, a estos sectores populares donde estamos, la medicina llegaba como fuera? Por lo menos lo elemental para atender las enfermedades principales. Y ahí aguantamos. Eso se notaba. Había detrás como una mano mágica, ¿no? que hacía que eso aconteciera.
De ahí sale la propuesta del presidente de implementar unas cajas clave.
Los CLAR nos sirvieron como mucho apoyo y ayuda, tanto en las proteínas como en la alimentación, la medicina. ¿Para qué? Para que por lo menos el pueblo se sintiera un poco más tranquilo.
Mira, eso te trae leche, aceite, azúcar, arroz y no un paquete, harina, los legumbres, las leguminosas que vendrían siendo todos los granos, hasta harina de trigo. Una vez trajo mayonesa, todavía trae la mayonesa, salsa de tomate, ¿ah? Café. ¿Qué más quieren ustedes por esa bolsa que lo que te cuesta son 7 bolívares?
Vimos la luz al final del camino y bueno, nos le pegamos atrás y la prendimos otra vez.
Llega la bolsa y me da escalofrío, mira que no sé qué tiene, llega la bolsa y la gente, la comunidad salía como desesperada. Y entonces te veía como un dios. En lo que tú pasabas la notificación, te veía, mira, todavía me escalofrío porque lo viví, pues. Te veía así como que un dios llegó la bolsa, vamos a tenerla por lo menos unos días de descanso, de no amanecer en la calle.
El régimen de Nicolás Maduro implementó los comités locales de abastecimiento y producción CLAP, promocionándolo como un programa soberano de alimentación a la población. Pero la verdad es que se convirtió en un escandaloso negocio y un medio para chantajear a los más vulnerables.
Se revendían a un mayor precio de lo que valen. Se negaba su acceso a los simpatizantes de la oposición.
Eso fue un cuento para mí, eso fue mucha mentira. Porque aquí dentro de las comunidades siempre ha habido chavistas y también se encuentran escuálidos. Y cuando uno hizo el censo, uno censó a todos por igual. De que muchos renunciaban porque decían que una bolsa de comida no los iba a comprar, era otra cosa.
Los mercados contenían en muchas ocasiones alimentos vencidos, en mal estado y de mala calidad.
Los alimentos distribuidos tienen una calidad dudosa e incluso han denunciado que llegan con larvas y gorgojos.
La crítica internacional fue devastadora. Comida mala, comida que no servía, comida dañada, la carne que venía mala y dañada.
La harina no sirve, porque no era harina. Las granos, ¿hasta cuándo lentejas? ¿Hasta cuándo las pepitas? Mi hermana, si eso es el potencial más grande de alimento que tiene un grano, tú no te imaginas. Que esto, nada servía, ninguno de los productos servía, pero ¿cómo los iban a buscar? No porque se los voy a dar a los perros. A los perros son ellos. Los perros son ellos, sin vergüenza.
Este barco es el Fortune y es el primero de los 5 buques iraníes cargados de gasolina que ha entrado en aguas territoriales de Venezuela.
Sí, hay que ver lo que significa la alegría que sentíamos cuando decían que venían los barcos de Irán y que ya están llegando y que llegó la gasolina. Hay que ver la alegría que sentía Venezuela
Eso pareció como cuando PDVSA, cuando se prendió el mechurrio y empezaron a sonar las cornetas de las gandolas, algo parecido. Fue emocionante, fue bonito.
Venezuela, detrás de esos barcos estaba SAABA, negociando. Detrás de la comida que llegaba, cuando todas las navieras nos las castigaron, pues les prohibieron entrar a Venezuela, ahí estaba Alex jugándoselas por el país.
Ellos evidentemente vieron que Venezuela no se rendía, no seguía trayendo alimento, el pueblo venezolano seguía luchando y ellos dijeron, ¿quién está ayudando a Venezuela a burlar estas sanciones? Y evidentemente encontraron a Alex, vieron a él como un enemigo y era necesario capturarlo, custodiarlo, como el mismo ex secretario de Defensa, ex jefe de Pentágono, Mark Esper, escribió en su libro, confesó en su libro que Alex estaba en una misión diplomática y que era necesario custodiarlo para entender la ruta del gobierno de Maduro.
Alex SAABA venía ejecutando esas acciones de tal forma que fue ubicado por las autoridades de Estados Unidos. Pero para este momento, 9 de abril del 2018, todavía Venezuela y Estados Unidos tenían relaciones diplomáticas. Un año después casi, Estados Unidos y Venezuela rompen relaciones diplomáticas, es decir, en el 2019, enero del 2019. Y ese mismo año, en julio, se le imponen las primeras sanciones por parte de la OFAC a Alex SAABA.
El 25 de julio del 2019 llega, después de amenaza que si Alex no paraba de traer alimento, entonces iban a sancionar a su familia. Este 25 de julio del 2019 ellos sancionan a sus hermanos y sus hijos que acaban de cumplir 18 años. La amenaza siguieron y le dijeron que iban también a perseguir a su familia, a mí.
A nosotros nos sancionaron los Estados Unidos. Yo perdí, digamos, que todo lo que podía tener a nivel comercial. Nadie quiere trabajar conmigo, difícil trabajar. Todos nos miran como si nosotros fuéramos terroristas. No sé qué palabra sería esa. Y simplemente por llevar el apellido.
Y así fue, en el 2019 empezó esta investigación contra mí en Italia, una investigación que no tiene ni cabeza ni pie, no tiene nada. Es una investigación que ellos ni siquiera me dieron el derecho a mí de defenderme. No hay crimen presupuesto en esta locura de Italia. Ni siquiera me dieron el derecho de la presunción de inocencia.
En una parada técnica en la ruta Caracas-Teherán, autoridades de Cabo Verde detienen al diplomático Alex SAABA.
Te pregunto, en el periodo de la pandemia, teniendo un hogar tranquilo, feliz, con una niña que acababa de nacer, con tus hijos, sabiendo que eres sancionado, perseguido, ¿tú te arriesgarías a ir a una misión diplomática entre dos países sancionado por los Estados Unidos? Y entonces yo califico a Alex como valentía pura.
Ese es Alex. El único pecado de él fue haberse puesto del lado de un pueblo que estaba siendo acosado por hambre por parte del Imperio norteamericano.
Había salido desde Caracas rumbo a Irán, pero por cuestiones de combustible hizo una parada técnica precisamente allí en la isla, pues donde ya había una orden de captura emitida por la Interpol.
Que no existía una orden de detención de Cabo Verde, no existía una orden de detención de Interpol, y además el orden de detención en los Estados Unidos no mencionaba a Alex Saab como objeto de la detención.
Por primera vez en la historia del mundo, nosotros podemos decir que se llegó a detener a un funcionario diplomático y se le sometió a una prisión en el tiempo como ha sido sometido el diplomático venezolano Alex Saab.
Una vez que el gobierno venezolano informó a Cabo Verde que se trataba de un diplomático, Cabo Verde ignoró esa información y mantuvo la detención, no obstante que el gobierno venezolano le informó que se trataba de un diplomático.
La violación más grasa, más evidente en este caso es el artículo 29 de la Convención de Viena sobre las relaciones diplomáticas, artículos 1 y 29. Todos los agentes diplomáticos de un gobierno están protegidos por esa convención y que es totalmente ilegal detenerlos, no arrestarlos o llevarlos a juicio, detenerlos.
En mi carrera no he visto algo semejante. Existen casos en cual por error detienen un diplomático, pero una vez que el país informa de su estatus, lo arreglan. Pero aquí, Cabo Verde escogió ignorar a Venezuela.
Porque ellos quieren, obviamente, que Alex Saab vaya y entregue pues mucha información que él podía tener sobre todo el régimen de Nicolás Maduro.
Pues ahí, Jairo, se prendería, digamos, un ventilador.
Porque el verdadero pez gordo es Maduro con toda su gente. Roberto, yo no sé si usted está de acuerdo que Saab es una ficha clave en el entramado, un testigo clave, pero Estados Unidos, su interés máximo no es Alex Saab. Su interés máximo tiene que ser Maduro y el régimen y la gente que lo acompaña y los países que han estado alrededor de todo eso.
La nación más poderosa del mundo. Se han gastado millones, billones que tiene CIA, agencias de seguridad, escuchan los teléfonos, ellos saben absolutamente todo y no tienen pruebas contra mi hermano.
Gerardo, ¿quién es realmente Alex Saab para el régimen de Nicolás Maduro?
Es un empresario clave para la supervivencia del régimen de Nicolás Maduro, que todo lo resolvía Saab. Si faltaba leche, que llamaran a Saab. Si faltaba gasolina, que eso lo soluciona Saab.
Las sanciones matan, que las consecuencias de las sanciones son gravísimas. Pues, ¿quién estaba tratando de disminuir el impacto de las sanciones? Alex Saab. Por lo tanto, había que quitarlo del camino.
Por eso yo creo que es algo político que no tiene nada que ver con el derecho ni combatimiento de criminalidad.
El Comité de Derechos Humanos, yo era el secretario del Comité de Derechos Humanos en su época y yo redacté un sinnúmero de medidas provisorias en que se le pide a un Estado que no lleve a cabo la pena de muerte, no deporte a una persona, no extradite a una persona. Pues el comité lo hizo por Alex Saab y tanto los Estados Unidos como Cabo Verde se rieron del Comité de Derechos Humanos. La Corte Africana también decidió que no podía extraditarse y que había que soltarlo.
Primeiro, porque goza de imunidade e inviolabilidade em razão do princípio da não ingerência decorrente da Carta da ONU e de seu estatuto de enviado especial, uma vez que no momento da sua detenção estava a executar uma missão especial em nome da República da Venezuela e não era objeto de um mandato de detenção ou mesmo de um alerta vermelho em Cabo Verde.
El presidente de Cabo Verde le dijo a la prensa de su país que nunca en la historia había recibido tantas llamadas de presión internacional como las que ha recibido por el caso de Alex Saab.
Eso confirma la dimensión política de este asunto, ¿no? Y además hay que revisarse que lo que sucedió en Cabo Verde es un precedente muy peligroso para el derecho internacional. La inmunidad diplomática está ahí para servir la paz y la posibilidad de negociaciones pacífico entre estados. Si uno viola ese principio, entonces todos los diplomáticos del mundo están en problema.
El secuestro de Alex es un poco, no es un poco, es un mensaje para todas las personas que quieren, que quieren ayudar a Venezuela, que ayudan a Venezuela, que esto le puede pasar también a ellos. Si tú ayudas a Venezuela, entonces te vamos a secuestrar, te vamos a vestir de naranja y te vamos a mostrar ante todo el mundo como un criminal, porque tú fuiste en contra de los intereses de los Estados Unidos. Él sufrió en la cárcel las peores torturas y en las peores condiciones. Él estuvo tirado en un piso, en una cárcel llena de animales, de insectos, de las peores cosas. Estuvo durmiendo en un pedazo de cemento donde el jeans con que él viajó este 12 de junio fue su almohada por 7 meses. En la primera carta que recibí de Alex, después de días sin saber de él me escribió una carta contándome toda la tortura que sufrió en el calabozo donde fue torturado los primeros 3 días en la isla de Sal, en Cabo Verde. Ahí empezó a decirme que debía firmar la extradición voluntariamente. Como yo me negaba, siempre agarró una bolsa de plástico azul y me la puso en la cabeza. La apretaba ahogándome mientras insistía en que debía firmar. Cada vez se ponía más bravo. Habían 2 más con él, pero tenían capucha. No le vi la cara ni hablaron. Él decía que uno de estos era gringo y que si me iba y colaboraba no iba a estar preso allá. Me seguí negando y entonces me puso una toalla en la cabeza y empezaron a echarme agua. Los otros me detenían. Así en total, calculo, estuve varias horas en total. Me decía me iba a matar y que debía firmar la extradición y una declaración contra el gobierno de Venezuela, acusándolo de corrupto. Además de esto, Alex es un sobreviviente de cáncer de estómago, es un paciente oncológico. En los primeros 3 meses él perdió 26 kilos de peso y hasta el día de hoy Alex no recibe atención médica, no recibe ningún tipo de asistencia médica. En Cabo Verde, cuando tratamos de hacerle llegar su doctor oncológico, ellos lo devolvieron.
Yo miré a Alex con muy hematoma en su cuerpo, ¿entiendes? Estaba con hematoma en su brazo, Alex tenía hematoma en su testa, Alex tenía muy hematoma en su cuerpo. Entonces tenía un día que el mismo Alex se peleó muy con el director. Y él estaba a decir al director, ¿por qué que tú permites que las personas, los americanos, entren en mi cárcel para me torturar? Para que yo abra las cosas que yo no voy a hablar, para que yo abra las cosas que yo no lo soy, que ellos quieren de mí. Entonces tenía un día que Alex se peleó muy con el director. Le dice, director, si yo mañana si yo no estoy vivo, si es tú que es culpable, ¿me entiendes? Porque tú estás permitiendo que personas entren en mi cárcel para me torturar.
Así fue. Desde el momento que fue secuestrado, evidentemente habían agentes extranjeros, hablaban inglés, que le pegaban, le partieron las muelas, le cortaron las muñecas, le cortaron también los tobillos, le hacían moretones, le entraban a cualquier hora de la noche.
Él no podía caminar solo. Tenía presos que a veces tenía que venir con Alex, que tenía él en su brazo para Alex poder buscar las cosas para él, porque él no podía caminar solo.
A Alex una noche le entraron en la celda, en esta celda 2 metros por 1,5 metros y le empezaron a torturarlo y a cortarle las muñecas, los tobillos. Alex el día siguiente denuncia esto a los abogados, le comunican esto al director de la prisión. El director de la prisión dice que contesta que Alex se estaba autoinfligiendo estas heridas solo. Entonces los abogados pidieron que fuera porque los mismos abogados vieron que Alex no se estaba autoinfligiendo nada, porque estaba lleno de moretones. Entonces los abogados piden que una ONG de Cabo Verde vaya a visitar a Alex. Esta ONG, después de logra visitar a Alex y confirma que Alex no se estaba autoinfligiendo, ma eran heridas infligidas por alguien más, porque estaba lleno de moretones, los brazos estaban totalmente morados, las cortadas. Vio que no era Alex que estaba haciendo esto y después esta ONG desapareció. Evidentemente fue amenazada, nosotros no pudimos más encontrarla, la cancelaron de Cabo Verde.
Mas después que Alex denunció que él estaba siendo golpeado ahí dentro, ellos no dejaron a Alex más escribir.
El director decidió quitarle el único derecho que Alex tenía, que era usar un lapicero, que decidió quitárselo porque así él no podía ni siquiera más escribir a nosotros, que era la única manera para comunicarse con nosotros. Entonces los otros presos le lanzaban en solidaridad un poco en contra de todo lo que estaban haciendo con Alex. Entonces Alex desde luego de su celda le lanzaban la caneta en portugués, le lanzaban este lapicero adentro de la celda.
Muchos presos pedían ayuda a Alex. Para decir verdad, ellos ayudaron muchos presos ahí dentro, sus familias que estaban fuera. Yo puedo decir que Alex está una persona increíble, una persona muy buena persona, una persona mismo cuando la condición que él estaba ahí dentro, él ayudaron a las otras personas.
Alex en la cárcel, después de haber sido torturado, de haber sido incomunicado y todo esto, él me manda una carta pidiendo, contándome que había un compañero al lado de él que era epiléptico y que él lo escuchaba toda la noche teniendo estos ataques y que nadie lo iba a ver, que nadie y nada, y que él estaba muy preocupado y lo único en que pensó Alex es pedir ayuda a nosotros para él, para su compañero.
E o Tribunal da CDO não deu provimento ao recurso de Cabo Verde e mantém a sua decisão de março último que ordena a libertação imediata de Alex Saab.
Non, la Cour de justice de la CEDEAO, quand elle a reçu le dossier d'Alex Saab, l'a examiné, la Cour a délibéré, tous les 5 juges de la Cour ont participé à la délibération et ont décidé que Alex Saab soit libéré immédiatement.
Do not obey court orders. If government do not obey court orders, it's like a coup d'etat.
La Corte de Justicia, el Tribunal de Justicia de la Comisión Económica de África Occidental tuvo que emitir 2 pronunciamientos, y eso es importante decirlo porque este es un tribunal que sus decisiones son de obligatorio cumplimiento para los países partes, y Cabo Verde es un país parte. Entonces este tribunal decidió que el caso de Alex Saab es un caso ilegal y que debe ser liberado de manera inmediata por las cantidades de violaciones al debido proceso que se verificó.
Si algún periodista, si algún medio ha llevado adelante una profunda investigación sobre los quehaceres de este individuo en el mundo de la corrupción, ha sido el portal armando.info, y dentro de este equipo, puntualmente el periodista Roberto Benz.
Ellos deportaban médicos, abogados, no dejaron entrar a mí, a su esposa, a las niñas, no dejaron entrar también si no dieron una visa diplomática. Reconociendo el estado diplomático de Alex, Cabo Verde nos dio una visa diplomática, pero después nos amenazaron y no pudimos ir a Cabo Verde. Quien dejaron entrar fue a este supuesto periodista y nada, él lleva desde hace años esta campaña de desprestigio contra Alex. Evidentemente nosotros sabemos que es un periodista que es financiado por contar mentiras contra Alex, para que esta mentira se vuelva una realidad.
Estuviste recién en Cabo Verde, ¿qué pudiste ver?
Nada más llegar a Cabo Verde, César Miguel, es muy fácil comprobar toda la maquinaria de propaganda y de desinformación que hay de parte del chavismo y de parte de la defensa de Alex Saab. Como bien dices, Saab siempre su defensa se ha quejado de las condiciones en las que está, Él está, como dije antes, en un townhouse de un resort, es un resort turístico que se llama Villa Verde. Obviamente ese resort no fue escogido al azar, porque bueno, Cabo Verde depende mucho del turismo, ahorita hay pocos turistas, entonces eso facilita, digamos, las labores de seguridad, pero evidentemente está mejor ahí, tiene que estar mejor ahí que en una prisión.
No es verdad, no era verdad. A partir de eso pasamos a vivir un auténtico terror. Tenía un día que tenía un policía que dice para él que yo no tengo miedo de ti y yo tengo orden para matar. Si tú estás a pensar alguna cosa, hacer alguna cosa, yo voy a matar.
Uno de los momentos más difíciles que podemos decir que vivió Alex estando en prisión, además de las torturas a las que fue víctima, fue el hecho de conocer la muerte de su padre y su madre con pocos días, la muerte de uno y otro a causa de esta pandemia que azotó a la población.
Yo no tengo palabras para explicarte cómo estaba él, porque ninguém no consigue, por más que yo hable, tú no consigues entender cómo él estaba. Él estaba muy triste, estaba llorando mucho. Primera vez que Alex siempre estaba muy nervioso às vezes con las cosas que estaban pasando con él, que estaba muy injusto con él. Mas neste día fue peor, este día fue peor. Yo pensaba que Alex va a tener un ataque cardíaco, yo pensaba que él va a morir.
Uno de los momentos más dolorosos para Alex fue la pérdida de sus padres. Lo perdió a distancia de 9 días el uno del otro. Unos meses antes de su padre, él perdió también a su primo, que era como un hermano, Serhan, y Serhan había quedado cuadripléjico en un accidente en Colombia. Una de las últimas peticiones que ha hecho Serhan antes de dejarnos fue pedir la liberación de Alex.
Por favor, no se dejen engañar con la cantidad de mentiras, calumnias e injurias creadas solo para desprestigiar y manchar su buen nombre. No es justo que una persona tan buena como él le estén haciendo pasar este mal momento.
Muito boa noite. O Supremo Tribunal de Justiça autoriza a extradição de Alex SAABA para os Estados Unidos da América, não acatando assim a decisão do Tribunal de Justiça da CDAO.
Alex Naín Saab Morán se encuentra actualmente bajo la custodia de las fuerzas de orden de los Estados Unidos en Miami.
Y como él está secuestrado, nosotros también lo estamos como familia. Pero como él seguiremos en la valentía, en la tranquilidad y en las luchas por los pueblos dignos del mundo, por Venezuela y por el gobierno legítimo de Nicolás Maduro.
Nosotros vivimos un segundo secuestro. Me recuerdo que este día yo vi un tweet en Twitter de alguien súper malvado que había puesto una foto de un avión del Departamento de Justicia llegando a Cabo Verde. Yo enseguida llamé a la hermana, porque la hermana sí pudo entrar en Cabo Verde, y la hermana le dije a Katia, Katia, por favor, corre, toma el carro y vaya a ver si Alex está bien, si Alex sigue ahí, porque, no sé, el avión aterrizó hace 20 minutos, tengo una sensación mala, porque no es posible que hoy hay un avión del Departamento de Justicia. También si era el día de las elecciones, ahí era imposible que estaba ahí un avión del Departamento de Justicia.
Y Dona Carta comenzó a llamar con Iván, ¿qué está pasando? Porque pienso que está muy en movimiento ahí con las cosas para él. Yo dije, yo estoy hablando con Pinto, con Aristides, los advogados. Ellos dicen que no pasará nada, porque si ellos vienen a buscar a Alex, ellos tienen que recibir una carta, ellos tienen que tener algo para llevar a Alex. Entonces ellos dicen assim, ellos no pueden llevar a Alex, tienen que notificar para decir algo, porque si no eso está un rápido, no está una cosa legal.
Y entonces Katia se fue corriendo con el carro ahí y ella me dijo que no habían más militares, los 100 militares que estaban ahí amenazando todo el día a Alex, vigilándolo supuestamente, y que había solamente uno, y que este uno le había dicho, no, todo está bien, tú no puedes entrar, pero todo está bien, todo está bajo control, todo está bien. Entonces Katia se le prendió una alarma, me llamó otra vez, pero no la habían dejado entrar, entonces se empezó a ir con el carro cuando vio llegar 20 camionetas de militares de Cabo Verde, y ella enseguida se volteó otra vez con el carro, lo siguió y ellos pararon, y cuando vio a ella, al capitán, el militar Évora, encargado de vigilar a Alex, ella le dice: ¿dónde está Alex? Alex está bien, no sé qué. Y él le dice: Alex, ya lo hemos entregado a los Estados Unidos, ya se lo llevaron.
Yo pensaba que Dona Cátia va a tener un ataque, porque disse: como, Jason? ¿Por qué, Jason? ¿Por qué no nos avisaron? ¿Por qué no me dice nada para yo despedir de mi hermano? Tú debías nos avisar, tú debías me avisar. Dona Cátia, Alex sabe, va hoy para mí. Mi hermano no va a hacer nada. Si él tiene que ir para mí, que él va, mas por lo menos tú debías ser más gentil, hablarme que yo voy a despedir de mi hermano. ¿Por qué, Jason?
El vuelo N708JH aterrizó en Miami. De inmediato, SAAB fue tomado en custodia por autoridades estadounidenses. Prensa venezolana captó el momento en el que el señalado testaferro de Nicolás Maduro abordó una camioneta del FBI esposado para luego ser trasladado a un centro de reclusión temporal.
SAAB ha sido extraditado desde Cabo Verde, donde llevaba un año detenido. Venezuela acusa a Estados Unidos de secuestro y ha interrumpido el diálogo con la oposición.
Llegó un avión, se bajaron unos matones, unos sicarios, lo buscaron y lo sacaron a golpes desde el lugar donde estaba como casa por cárcel, y se lo llevaron sin avisarle a los abogados, a la familia ni a nadie. Un secuestro en toda la línea del gobierno de Estados Unidos para un diplomático internacional.
Nos conectamos de manera urgente aquí en Semana Noticias porque la justicia de Cabo Verde autoriza la extradición de Alex Saab a los Estados Unidos.
No utilizaría el término extradición, porque una extradición es algo legal con un proceso cuando todas las decisiones que tenían que tomar fueron tomadas, pero en este caso yo creo que él fue llevado de Cabo Verde sin que el proceso jurídico se terminó. Entonces no es una extradición, sino que es una captura.
Ese 16 de octubre del 2021, pues al día siguiente se realizarían unas elecciones en Cabo Verde, donde el candidato, que fue efectivamente el que ganó, había prometido que su país iba a defender y a respetar todas las decisiones que emanaran de los tribunales donde ellos tienen obligatorio cumplimiento, como la SAABA.
The African Commission on Human and People's Rights also ordered that Ambassador Saab be not extradited to the United States of America, pending the determination of the application that will file before them. So there was no basis for the extradition, hurried and illegal extradition of Mr. Alex Saab.
Llega con todas esas irregularidades al territorio de Estados Unidos e inmediatamente el juez pues dice: vamos a eliminar los cargos, 7 cargos de los 8 cargos, y le dejan un cargo que podemos decir el cargo más artificial, pero también de uso político incluso, que es el de conspiración para lavado de dinero.
Que si el señor Saab es un criminal tan grande, entonces ¿por qué redujimos los cargos? Pues obvio que los otros cargos no eran serios.
A Suiza comenzaron ya por 3 años una investigación y fue cerrada en diciembre del 2020, ese año que fue cruelmente secuestrado, pues comenzó una investigación por supuestamente malversación de $350 millones, y evidentemente el tiempo pues verificó que no hay ningún lavado de dinero allí, no hay ninguna malversación y que todo corrió completamente legal. Ahí cae, podemos decir, completamente el caso de Estados Unidos.
Como dijo Alex, el alma de un guerrero jamás se arrodilla, jamás se humilla. Y yo hoy le digo como esposa que estoy orgullosa de Alex. Estoy orgullosa de su lucha, como él defiende la lucha por Venezuela, de su amor por Venezuela.
Hay tanta fuerza en la defensa de Alex Saab que lo único que le ha quedado al Departamento de justicia de Estados Unidos, que lo que han hecho más bien es tratar de postergar y postergar el caso, para no decidir sobre la inmunidad diplomática del funcionario diplomático venezolano enviado especial Alex Saab.
Los Estados Unidos quiere que sufra. Igualmente los Estados Unidos quiere que Julian Assange sufra.
The most important part of defending and fighting for what's going on with Alex Saab is to make sure that he will be liberated, that he will not be incarcerated under conditions that will probably destroy his life.
Mira, es doloroso que como esta gente que dice ser democrática, la libertad y aquellas cosas, tomen este sistema de agarrar a este señor y llevárselo. ¿A costa de qué? De que nos está haciendo un bien a todos los venezolanos. No me parece justo.
Bueno, pues mire, el hombre que tenía un niño que tenía 2 meses y poco para salir de su país, para salir de su familia, para ir para Irán, buscar los medicamentos, las cosas para poder venir a Irán, son las pocas personas que van a hacer esto. Él no tenía necesidad de hacer esto, pero él está haciendo esto para su pueblo.
Este enviado especial trajo alimento para tus hogares, para el hogar. Ese alimento que llegó, que tenía una marca internacional, fue traído por Alex Saab en silencio y lo hizo por su amor a nuestro país. La gasolina que nos llegó en ese momento extremo allá en julio del año pasado, la trajo Alex Saab. Las medicinas que llegaron para los diabéticos de Venezuela, para las enfermedades catastróficas, las medicinas contra el cáncer, los tratamientos contra el cáncer, los tratamientos para nuestros niños, los trajo Alex Saab del mundo.
Yo le pediría al Papa Francisco, levanta la voz por este hombre que no debe nada, que más bien lo que se merece es un premio a la lucha por los derechos humanos, porque estaba luchando por un pueblo desde su posición de diplomático. Ese es Alex Saab, es un diplomático defensor de los derechos humanos que al imperio norteamericano no le gusta, no le cae bien y decide ponerlo preso. Es decir, es la violación total del derecho internacional.
Terminar ese yugo con Alex Saab, lo liberaran no nada más por nosotros, sino por su familia, sus hijos, su esposa.
Mariam, que tiene 5 años, ella todos los días me pregunta por su papá. Ella dice que su papá es su novio y que nada, ella todos los días se pone a contar con las manos los días que faltan para que él llegue, y cada vez que se acaban los dedos otra vez toca empezar, y nada, es muy difícil. Es muy difícil explicarle porque son muy chiquitos.
Que no piense que todos le dimos la espalda, ¿no? Que tiene mucha gente que lo apoya, pero mucha gente con las manos atadas que no puede hacer nada. Pero desde aquí, especialmente yo le doy mi apoyo, y sé que mucha gente, muchos venezolanos, le estamos dando el apoyo y estamos luchando para que él pueda salir de ahí, y que tenga sobre todo, que tenga mucha fe en Dios y en los venezolanos, las personas que le ayudan tanto.
Ponerse del lado de una persona como Alex o de tantos otros como él que están siendo castigados injustamente es ser cristiano. O sea, yo como cristiano, ante una injusticia de tamaña naturaleza, no puedo quedarme de brazos cruzados. Es decir, tú no te llames cristiano si tú estás en contra de una persona que está luchando por un pueblo. No te llames cristiano.
Nosotros tenemos la esperanza, la convicción de que la verdad y el bien triunfarán, y que Alex regresará a casa. No sufras, ya llega el día. Ven conmigo, ven con todos. Lo que a ti se parece, lo más sencillos. Ven, no sufras, ven conmigo, porque aunque no lo sepas, eso yo sí lo sé. Yo sé hacia dónde vamos,
Y es esta la palabra, no sufras, porque ganaremos nosotros, lo más sencillos, ganaremos, aunque tú no lo creas, ganaremos.
All OWTU members and members from other unions, special invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and also I also forgot to mention my name, Álvaro Sánchez Cordero, the Venezuelan ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago. So I was going to say that at the beginning. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the film, that you learned the realities that both Venezuela and Alex himself and his family are currently going through. I just, maybe I would like to open the floor for you to express your opinion, ask questions and so on, but I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes just contextualizing the reason why we needed to appoint Alex as an special employee, which is a diplomatic category, to travel around the world to secure food and medicine for the Venezuelan population. The reason being is because Venezuela has been under an absolutely illegal, heinous blockade for the whole purpose of regime change. The United States, and let me tell you, this did not even start with Trump, it started with Obama, who was the first American president who decided that Venezuela was an imminent threat to the United States. Can you imagine something as illogical as that? But the reality is that it goes beyond Obama or Trump or anything. It's international corporations, transnational interests that they have put an eye on Venezuelan oil, gas, natural resources, and so on. And they cannot accept that there is an independent government that will abide to its own sovereignty to control and manage our own natural resources. Therefore, this has been a constant quarrel between Venezuela and the United States, and not only since Obama, but actually since George W. Bush, for all the time that the Bolivarian Revolution has been in place, since 1999. But nonetheless, from 2015, 2016 until now, the situation has become much worse. In many respects, because Commander Chavez passed away, so the United States thought that they have an easier possibility to topple the Bolivarian Revolution. So they went into what is called the sanctions. They're not really sanctions, because sanctions is a legal term that only the United Nations can sanction another country. This is not the case. These are unilateral sanctions. The United States is not legally allowed to sanction anyone. Otherwise, we will have to admit that the United States is the policeman of the world, which is not the case, or should not be the case. But because of the objectives that the United States has with Venezuela, they decided to blockade, to impose unilateral coercive measures, that's the name, against Venezuela, with all these hideous results that you have seen. Let me quickly just mention a few of the elements contained in the whole package of sanctioning Venezuela. At the moment, there are $7 billion that are frozen in international accounts. $7 billion that belong to the Venezuelan government that we're not allowed to use at all. $5 billion that are withheld by the IMF as part of the special drawing rights. All countries have special drawing rights. Venezuela is practically the only country that has not been able to enjoy the special drawing rights, so we have $5 billion that are withheld at the IMF. $2 billion worth of 31 tons of gold that are withheld by the Bank of England, and they simply have decided not to return that money to Venezuela. In $10 billion, that is the approximate value of Citgo Corporation, which is a refinery belonging to the Venezuelan state in the United States. They simply froze it, took it away from us, and this was a source of revenue for Venezuela. So that's one part. This is not all. In addition to that, as Venezuela being a major oil producing and exporting country, part of the sanctions are that we are unable to trade, to make any kind of transaction, oil transaction internationally. In other words, we're not allowed to sell oil. 95% of our revenues are oil related, and nonetheless we're not allowed to, according to the United States, to make oil sales, oil transactions. This has affected Venezuela dramatically. Just to give you a context, our oil industry has collapsed 87%. 87% collapse. Whereas Venezuela used to produce 3 million of oil barrels a day, it went down in 2020 to only not even half 300,000. So 10% of that amount, 300,000 barrels a day. Right now we're up a little bit. We're close to 1 million. So about 1/3 of what we used to produce. But still this is very dramatic. In our income, basically our revenues, have gone from $56 billion to only $700 million. Again, it has gone up again, but this was this extreme moment. And last but not least, there has been another aspect of American sabotage against the Venezuelan economy, which was that maybe many of you heard in the news about the levels of inflation in Venezuela. In fact, it was hyperinflation in Venezuela, which of course was affecting the Venezuelan people very, very much. But this was the result of a manipulation of our exchange rate. So from the United States, they basically sabotage our exchange rate. Instead of people owned by the official exchange rate by the Venezuelan Central Bank, these few websites operated in America, they decided that no, that's not the real exchange rate. The real exchange rate is much higher and much higher, and they were increasing the exchange rate daily, sometimes hourly, to the point that of course it exacerbated the economy and produced this out of reason inflation that of course created additional problems to the people, to the economy, and so on. So how to solve all those problems? There are many. There are limited ways to do it, but one of the ways that Venezuela opted in order to be able to circumvent those so-called sanctions was precisely to obtain support, cooperation, and solidarity from countries that can care less about these sanctions and are powerful enough to provide us with with what we needed: food, medicines, fuel, equipment, capital equipment, and so on. Namely, China, Russia, Iran, some African countries, some other Asian countries. But still, we have to do it in a way that the United States could not see that, because otherwise these people, these companies will get in trouble, will actually lose money. So the key person in Venezuela who had the experience on trading in ways that had to be done in disguise. So therefore, all this will be done successfully, but without raising the alarms internationally, was Alex Saab. Why? Because he is a very competent businessman, but a businessman, of course, who cares for the people. This goes beyond business itself. This is business for, as the video said, as the film said, for human rights. This is the end game, is actually to make sure that the Venezuelan people will survive, otherwise will perish. In fact, many people in Venezuela perished, died as a consequence of the so-called U.S. sanctions, determined by international bodies that if I have the time, I will mention. So the reality is that fortunately we had individuals like Alex Saab, who was appointed, given an appointment as a diplomat, therefore he will have more maneuver to travel internationally and arrange deals for Venezuela to secure what Venezuela needed. And as they said, many Iranian ships were able to get to Venezuela to bring us fuel. There were deals with Mexican companies and companies in other places to bring us food and so on. But at one point, in 2020, when he was on his way to Iran to secure to deal, to negotiate one of these undercover deals, his plane stopped in Cape Verde, in Africa, for refuel. And that's when basically they got him, the United States got him. It was the Cape Verde authorities, but it was by decision of the American government to imprison him, completely illegally, as they said, completely illegal. There wasn't even an Interpol alert against him. Only one was produced with the name, someone else's name, the following day, not even at the moment when he was arrested. The fact that he's a diplomat, no diplomats in the world can be detained whatsoever, not even if you're stopping in a third country. This is according to the Vienna Convention, and this is to make sure that all diplomats, not just Venezuelan diplomats, can actually carry out their work. So that's another violation. In addition to the fact that he was not given the due process of law, the lawyers who were only provided, or he was allowed to get lawyers only later on. And so this is a scenario, and he spent a little bit over a year in Cape Verde, and this is why we're doing this today, because tomorrow is going to be the second anniversary, the second year since Alex Saab was taken away, again illegally, from Cape Verde and taken to Miami in the United States, where he's currently in jail. As they also said, probably he would still be in Cape Verde, but the thing is that there were elections in Cape Verde where the upcoming Prime Minister of Cape Verde had promised that he will uphold to the ruling of the ECOWAS. ECOWAS is the body, the Economic Community of Western African States, and they go by what that body says. And that body said, look, you have to free Alex Saab. But Cape Verde didn't pay attention to the ruling. They had to, because it's a binding decision. But the government of Cape Verde didn't care, because the United States told them not to care. But there were elections in Cape Verde, and right before the elections took place, that's when they took him to the United States, because the upcoming Prime Minister had promised that he would uphold to what ECOWAS had said. So in a very summarized way, this is the situation. But the bottom line is that currently, even as we are speaking, even though many things have changed in our favor, internationally, domestically, and so on, Venezuela's economy, well, first of all, they didn't succeed in topping this, although they are still trying in overthrowing Nicolás Maduro in the worst moments. And keep in mind that even part of this whole situation happened during the pandemic. And unlike many countries, we were not even given a break during the pandemic in terms of getting vaccines and getting the equipment for recovery and so on. Luckily, we were able to get it through China and Russia and Cuba. But if it was by all the traditional ways, Western ways of vaccine procurements and so on, they didn't even allow Venezuela to get vaccines, even in the worst moments of COVID-19. So it's also an example of our perseverance, of our commitment to country, to government, and to sovereignty. But now Venezuela is, of course, doing a lot better. In many respects, it has to do with the fact that many countries in the region and around the world are looking at us differently. They realized that it was nonsense to follow the lead of the United States of acknowledging a fictitious president in Venezuela. It was illogical to maintain Venezuela in this state when in reality we were just another civilized country trying to live a peaceful life and promoting peace internationally. So things are changing, but the sanctions are still there. If you notice the deal that fortunately Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago signed in regards to the Dragon field, initially the United States, or not initially, even still now, even today, the United States said you are allowed to trade gas with Venezuela, but no cash can be paid. First of all, who is the United States to determine what conditions of trade should Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago have? You know, it's completely illogical. But nonetheless, they come and they claim to be the rulers of this region, and they determine that no cash payments should take place. But nonetheless, look, we found ways to make the deal happen. But we are doing this disguised, just like Alex SAABA, like just the way that we have been operating lately. Because otherwise, it is impossible to maintain the well-being of our nation. So I'll stop here, and I would just say, of course, that once again, that I thank you so much. We, the members of the Venezuelan embassy team, are here. Thank you very, very much for being here, for listening to us, to watching the video, for sympathizing with our cause. And of course, we would really encourage you. This is the idea. We basically presented this same video with these same ideas at the embassy a while ago. But as I was speaking to both Hollis, David, and others, and also Shaman Raul and many others, is that the idea is to try to take the same video and the same activity with my words and our dialogue to many other places in Trinidad and Tobago. We are willing to go anywhere. You tell us, Chaguanas, Tobago, Macoya, you name it, anywhere. So it's not just encapsulated at the embassy, but on the other hand, many people can learn about this. As I was, Jose and I were talking at the beginning of the event. Listen, if this was the other way around, let's say this will never happen, but imagine for a second, if it was the other way around. If Venezuela would have kidnapped an American diplomat, let me tell you, everyone in the whole world would know about it. But since it is the other way around, the United States arbitrarily kidnapping a Venezuelan diplomat, practically no one knows. It's not in the media, it's not in the social media, it's not anywhere, because the information is controlled. We receive information according to what the United States wants us to know. It's really difficult. And by the way, I'll finish with this. This leads me to another very important point, which is that yesterday or day before yesterday, the head of the United States Southern Command, the military structure that patrols the Caribbean region, the Fourth Fleet, the U.S. Southern Command, Miss Laura Richardson, she said that we are, I'm not quoting, but I'm paraphrasing her. We meaning the United States, but not even the United States Army, the United States military, we are in conflict. When someone from the U.S. military says that we are in conflict, that's, you have to be careful. So she said, we are in conflict with all these media outlets like RT, Russia Today, Telesur, and the Iranian one that Sputnik. No, that's Russian. Sputnik, I'm sorry, RT and Telesur, because they are giving misinformation in their broadcastings, in their outlets. First of all, she's no one to say that. What scientific reasons does she have, or any proof that these media outlets bring out false information? She may have to prove it. But as I said, the most concerning thing is that she says that she's in conflict with those media companies in the region, meaning that even the small spaces that we have voice our views, our ideas, our truth, they're not even comfortable with that. So that's something to think about. So anyway, I'll stop here. What I'll say is, after watching this video, some of you may have previous information about Alex Saab. Others may not have any information about Alex Saab. Either way, it's completely understandable. But if you have any questions, any queries, if you want to make any comments, well, I'm here to hopefully be able to answer and continue with the conversation. Thank you very much. We have created, sorry that we didn't bring it today, but I promised that I will send it out to you. We have an actual fact sheet on the case of Alex Saab with all this information, but systematically in place, all factual information that can easily bring down all the erroneous arguments against Venezuela, Alex Saab, because sometimes you go into the internet or you Google Alex Saab, and immediately the first thing that comes there, oh, he's a drug dealer, God knows what, a henchman of a dictator. Nonsense. It's absolutely incredible that we live in a world where supposedly with so much technology we should be able to get more reliable information. It seems to be the other way around. But hopefully this fact sheet will help, and of course we'll be sending it out to you beginning this coming week. So again, if you have questions, let me know.
Good afternoon to everyone. So I would think that there's some legal action that has been taken, illegal but legal action in America taken against Mr. Saab. Can you give us an idea where that is? So if there is some kind of timeline, you know, even within their system for us to have an outcome.
Yes, well, thank you very much for your question. That's a very, very good question. Listen, immediately as soon as this case landed in the United States, they had to go through the legal procedure, at least a formal legal. In their political minds, they knew what this whole thing is about, and they knew that they're going to keep Alex Saab in prison as a reminder or as an example to Venezuela and the world. Look, don't ever dare to question the United States or do anything that would go, especially something as successful as it. Maybe if he wasn't successful, they wouldn't care, but he was being successful, and therefore they had to get. But you're right, they had to go through the legalities. Now, since being in the United States, and this, again, 2 years, right? So 2 years ago, it was only in the court hearings has been postponed and postponed and postponed. At one point, they simply decided, okay, we're dropping all the charges against Alex Saab. We're just doing one, which is conspiracy to money laundering, right? Probably the most serious one, but anyway, the other ones, I don't know, they just dropped it. So supposedly it has to make it as if well, we're working on this case. On Christmas of last year, on the 24th of December, the 23rd of December of 2022, they decided that, look, we are going to look into, which has been one of our main, the main aspects of Alex Saab legal defense, into the diplomatic status of Alex Saab. But it wasn't, they keep postponing that. Okay, let's talk about his diplomatic immunity, because it can be proven he could not have been arrested or taken away or touched at all because of his diplomatic immunity. Nonetheless, they did. But they keep on postponing and postponing and postponing. Supposedly, a few days ago, the 4th of October, so early in the month, this year, a few days ago, the same court, which is an appealing court in the state of Georgia, they decided that they were going to, this time for sure, they're going to look into the diplomatic status of Alex Saab, but according to the people who know about the time of the court hearings and so on, they're really looking into something like mid-2024 when they will go and finally examine his diplomatic status. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is that they keep delaying and delaying and delaying, and the delays are longer and longer and longer because I think it's a maneuver. At some point, they will have to face the fact that he is a diplomat. But what they have argued, because this is a court of appeal, in the regular court procedure, in the regular court where he was first heard, the issue of his his diplomatic immunity was also put in place. Now, what they claimed, and this is why we took it to the Court of Appeals, look at this. This is something as absurd and irrational. No, he may be a diplomat for Venezuela, but he's not a diplomat to us because we don't recognize the government of Nicolás Maduro. But that's against the Vienna Convention. Look, the Vienna Convention establishes that it doesn't matter if you may not like another government. But if that's a government that is recognized internationally, especially, and has a seat in the United Nations, that's the government of the country. You may not like it. You may pretend that that government doesn't exist, but it does exist. So as long as that government exists, as long as that government has a seat in the United Nations, as long as that government is recognized by the vast majority of the world, that's a valid government. And you have, according to the UN, to the Vienna Convention, the rules apply, the immunity applies, whether you like it or not. But the United States, this supremacy idea or the American exceptionalism that puts them in a morally higher position, pretends to excuse their actions by saying that since the United States doesn't recognize Maduro, then therefore we don't recognize any diplomats from Venezuela. Completely nonsense, but I wouldn't be surprised if that goes through in the United States legal system, because at the end of the day, they can care less about how the rest of the world really operates.
Say viva to the Bolivarian revolution. Mr. Saab, we have been hearing about Mr. Saab for a while. He's a Venezuelan Jew. Is he not a Venezuelan Jew?
He's not a Venezuelan?
A Jew.
Jewish.
Yes, he's a Jewish Venezuelan guy.
No, not as far as I know.
He's a Jewish Venezuelan guy, just like the guy who was before, who they tried to install as the president.
Guaido.
The guy who was before Guaido. There was a guy before Guaido who was attacking Chavez and doing all the stuff on behalf of the United States. Now we know that Mr. Saab is a Venezuelan Jew, just like the guy I'm speaking about. Now the only way he could have moved around the world is because of his complexion and his nationality. He does not look Venezuelan, but he can get through on the international scale on behalf of Venezuela. What we are having here, look at where they held him in Cape Verde in Africa. They could not hold him there unless Portugal tell them to hold him there. Portugal is a member of NATO. All the countries that are fighting Comrade Maduro and our great leader Chavez before him, they're all members of NATO. We are not fighting an America-controlled United Nations because of the Charter or the Convention. America controls everything. The United States controls the United Nations, the Security Council, and all the white countries of the Western Hemisphere. What we have here now is an educational process that we have to go through for a new age of socialism. We want a socialist international movement in the Caribbean and Venezuela to link us together. We must be linked through socialism. Capitalism have betrayed us. We come from colonialism into neo-colonialism, when we reach to neo-colonialism, there's no way we can go but only to reverse to colonialism. This is what we have in Trinidad today. Trinidad, we have a neo-colonial government. In Venezuela, we wish Venezuela all the best. I may not see freedom in it in my lifetime, but we know that it's coming. We used to have a great philosopher here before he died. His name was C.L.R. James. He was a great man. Great man.
He's there.
Oh yes, man. And he told us to look for the revolution. The revolution was not coming through guns and bombs. Today we are seeing what socialism can accomplish through China. We did not get it through the Soviet Union because of certain, but through China today we are seeing a new age of socialism that can be beneficial to every man on this face of the earth. We have to move away from American hegemony. That is what keeping us down. Trinidad is controlled, as a matter of fact. Last week was the budget. The government tell us the banks that are really controlling our economy is J. Morgan, Morgan Chase, and Scotia International Bank. So if you put your economy into JP Morgan, Chase, American hegemony, and Scotia Bank, which is Canadian hegemony, what do we have? We're going to have austerities. We're going to have cutbacks. We're going on neoliberalism to get rid of unions, you know. America have done a tremendous job in destroying our union. They have destroyed the oil refinery. Today we could have been really well off. We could have been really well off regardless of what is happening all over the world. But they closed our refinery. And all our people, all our children cannot eat properly, and fathers cannot bring bread to the table because of American hegemony. Whatever we do in Trinidad is based on American say-so. This is what you will do. This is what you ain't going to do. This is what we want you to do. Let me tell you something. Our new ambassador here in Trinidad right now, her name is Julian Buns. That's her name. No, her name is Miss Buns. I will call her Miss Buns. But her father died about 5 or 6 years ago. He was a noted civil rights movement leader, Julian Buns. He was rare just like Dubois. His daughter, though she comes from a civil rights background, but today she is supporting on hegemony. She's representing the United States. And we got to call out. We got to call out. But anyway, we support. I come here because I support Comrade Chavez. I remember 2003. I was home in my mom's home when they arrested him. And they took him to the barracks. When they took Chavez to the barracks, I tell myself, oh my God, they will kill him. Because by the time they take you to the barracks, you're sure to come back home. And 2 days later, when he emerged, I said, oh my God, Chavez, American transformation takes 20 years. Every generation. So while this generation is dying, a new generation who does not know anything of the past, they're coming at you full force. And we have to continue educating our people. We have to continue educating our children. And we want Venezuela to play an active role in Trinidad. We want to learn Spanish. Because the future of Trinidad is not in America. It is down in the Central and in the Americas. We need to teach our children full-scale Spanish, and we need you to help us. We need Venezuela. And just like Venezuela need us. This is my say. Thank you much.
I'll take the last bit. Yesterday we were in San Rafael. Yesterday we were in San Rafael for the commemoration of Ayarima's rising in the 17th century, and that's precisely some of the aspects that came out that Trinidad and Venezuela, and actually all of the Americans, they have the Yala, It's one place. We have been one people all historically, so it's ridiculous to keep us separated or fighting among ourselves or anything.
No, we're not fighting. The U.S. have us divided.
Yeah, exactly. Divide and rule.
Yes. We're not fighting among ourselves.
Absolutely. It's never happened. We're brothers and sisters. Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. Anyway, if you have
one,
please go ahead.
Just to add to what the gentleman was, from my understanding, SAABA is Colombian.
Yeah, he's a Colombian.
Venezuelan national.
Colombian, Venezuelan. Yes.
I knew from a Newsweek report in February that they would be trying to negotiate prisoner exchange. Is that any further along in its progress?
That's a very, very good question. Look, to be honest, I'm going to be completely honest here. At this moment, that's my practically only hope that I have. Really, going through the legal channel, going through it, politically is not convenient for the United States. They would keep in there
forever.
Forever. They can care less. But the only ray of light that I see on this is that perhaps it could be a negotiation where it can be free for someone else. You know, maybe you don't know about this, but which is also terrible. In 2020 or 2021, I may have to go. I think it was 2020. Guaido, he hired a mercenary company, not even a mercenary company, an actual company in the United States, whose job is to go and create trouble in other countries. Literally, that's the objective of that company. The name of the company is, if I recall correctly, Silver Corp Corporation. It's the name of the company. You can Google it, Silver Corp Corporation. So Guaido and his cronies and the United States led them, basically the U.S. government, for this company that was hired to go and invade Venezuela. Imagine something as preposterous as that. But they went ahead, a group of young American, people who they thought that they were going into an adventure and they were excited with their rifles and so on. And they went, actually something like 25 people, went into the Venezuelan coast with their rifles and so on. And the fishermen, not even our army, the fishermen captured them and put them on the ground, you know. But nevertheless, those Americans who decided to do something as crazy as that, obviously they are in jail in Venezuela. So maybe in the future something like that may take place. I don't know. It's it could be a US one. That's normal in international.
So what you were saying about China is about to come to pass.
Yes, no.
Because with the new order of finance, the BRICS grouping of nations, and as soon as the 1st of January 2024 slips in, we are going to get the BRICS plus grouping of nations, which includes Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all the other so-called supporters of the petrodollar. Venezuela has applied to join the BRICS group of nations.
Yes.
I understand Jamaica has also.
Yeah, many countries, something like 40 countries have
yes.
applied.
So with that is going to put 50% of the world population on that side of the playing field. And what we are seeing is a rush to implement central bank digital currency. Trinidad had announced a couple of months ago that we are going to have this new form of digital cash called paper. Jamaica went with Jamdex, Bahamas went with Sando, Nigeria went with the e-Naira, and a few other nations have already gone that type of digital currency. So I think Venezuela had done their version of crypto many years ago.
It's called Petro.
Yes, but you hear nothing about it.
No, exactly.
So from the 1st of January, I expect this new financial grouping will change the face of what we know as finance and the way business is done. So we just look forward to that day when things will change for the better.
Well,
and we will see the end to this US so-called hegemony, because if things work out financially and the mass groupings of nations go with that form of trade where currency doesn't matter and US dollar is no longer held as the dollar of choice, we're going to see a lot of things change.
Well, just to illustrate what you have said, there is a U.S. senator who is of Cuban origin, of the name of Marco Rubio.
Yes,
you know Marco. He recently said something like this. That again, I'm paraphrasing. It's like, well, we have to stop and make sure that the BRICS and these currencies other than the dollar don't dominate the world, because he says something like this. If the dollar doesn't have hegemony in the world, how are we going to put sanctions against the world? so he was like wondering, like for him, the consequences of not having the dollar as the dominant currency in the world is that the United States will lose the power of sanctioning other countries, and for him, that was a disaster.
Because every single president that came into power in the United States, with the exception of Trump, all of them in their initial speeches always mentioned the money reduction.
Yeah.
And that is their idea of control of that region. South America should have been able by now to at least be able to help itself. But because of that monetary hegemony, if they turn the US dollar off, everything dies. Yeah. And that is exactly what has happened to Venezuela.
Correct.
By turning off the US dollar, you all can do nothing about it.
Absolutely.
And it would be the same instance in Trinidad if we decided to go against the be like Mike mentality. If we don't do a form of social regeneration of the psyche of the people, we can just keep going down the same route over and over and over again. So we too in Trinidad need to have some form of a culture change. Yes. Because we have been stuck on the idea of going to America for every single thing. And from the geographic standpoint, Trinidad and Venezuela is one place, so to speak. Not even to say that we are one people would not be too far of a stretch of the imagination, because we have never been taught the linkages between Venezuela and Trinidad.
Yeah, exactly.
Never. That the whole fight for the Bolivarian Republic started in Trinidad. Started on Shaka. That the initial first stages of that battle had its genesis in Trinidad, only to be held by Haiti and not Trinidad, because the planter class never supported that sort of thing. But if we are not reinitiated into the idea that we are South American or not American, then we will be in a sad state for quite a long time. Because I have looked and spoken to many youths throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad, and they have no idea that Venezuela exists. It's like a far place. You go there on a holiday. 7 miles away, closer to Trinidad and Venezuela than we are to Tobago, which is 9 miles away. We have no idea.
You have so many Africans in Venezuela.
Of course.
So many Africans.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that is what creates the tension between the Venezuelan immigrants coming.
Yes.
Because they think it's these so-called fair-skinned people.
Yes.
And they have no idea that the African diaspora in Venezuela is just as mixed as we are in Trinidad.
Yes.
So it's a mindset that we have to change.
There's millions of Africans in Venezuela. Millions.
From Venezuela to Brazil, right?
Yes,
Of
But
course.
in reality, even us Venezuelans, prior to the Bolivarian Revolution, we were in denial of our African ancestry. It was only Chavez, in a whole historical process and intellectual process that has been taking place in Venezuela, that has awakened us to our beautiful African heritage that has come along with education, culture, and so on. But it was even in our own society, it was put down until the Bolivarian Revolution came.
Even past Fidel Castro, I know. But Chavez, because of the resources and what he did for the Caribbean people, subsidizing the fuel, and the US take it away and force the people now to struggle. All the Caribbean islands They're struggling because of lack of money for fuel, while Chavez was giving us free subsidized fuel. The US stopped it. Nobody speaks about it.
Not to mention that the Venezuelan economy was able to prosper in the first decade of the 21st century, 2000 2010, basically. Venezuelan GDP grew, the living standards of the people went up, poverty came down, access to education and housing went, and all this doing the opposite of neoliberalism, which was government intervention in the economy and equal distribution of the national revenue. We obtained better resources by doing the opposite of neoliberalism than what all the neoliberals did in Venezuela prior to.
Because every government that have made it, every government, all the European governments, they didn't depend on the private sector to provide jobs. The government initiated job for the people, and then they would expect the private sector to fall in. But in our government here, we depend on the private sector to provide jobs for our children. That can never be, because they're giving them jobs with no benefits. No, they're talking about minimum wage, $20. $20 is nothing. The minimum wage in Trinidad should be at least $30. We have the money. Trinidad has the money, but we have managers masquerading as politicians. We have masquerading people in Trinidad who believe they are political, they're not, because a true politician, he goes with ideas. We have our leader here. He should be part of the national consensus. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, thanks very much. I just want to, from all of us here, before we close, we show our appreciation to you as the ambassador. And to say that it was very important that you took the decision not to just have it at the embassy, but really move around Trinidad and Tobago. And I think that's a Bolivarian type of tradition. You really have to go into communities, you have to go to the people to build consciousness. And I'd really like to also thank David Abdullah, the MSJ, who also facilitated this very important session. And just to say, really, it's not just a film show, but really a consciousness-raising activity.
Oh, yes.
And one of the things that touched me deeply about the Alex Saab story, because I've been thinking a lot about it, thinking very deeply about it in the last couple of days leading up to the show, but I've been thinking deeply about it also the context of what is happening in Palestine over the last few days. And to really, what dawned on me is this idea of spatial consciousness of ideology. And what do I mean by that? It is where you have this ideology of imperialism that transcends space, actually transcends space. And there are no spatial restrictions to dominant countries that have economic and military power to, in effect, do as they feel regardless of international law. In fact, what they in fact do is use international law conveniently in order to advance their interests. So they use sanctions. But what is sanctions? And that brings me to the Alex Saab. I do not want us to get to for heritage. And he was the head of a right-wing party called Movement for Democracy, who was in power at the time he was, that Alex Saab was arrested. So I say that to say that imperialism will always have local agents who are educated in Europe, educated in the US, in order to continue to advance their interests. And it's interesting because they lost that party, and you're correct, because and they knew they were going to lose the elections in 2021. And just for the record, they did lose the elections in 2021 to a party called the African Party for the Independence of Cape Verde. All right? And I want to kind of close with this idea of collective punishment. I think we as movements, because we have different representatives of movements that are here, we have to take a firm, objective stance against collective punishment as a tool for imperialism. Must. Venezuela yesterday, Palestine today, and it could be us tomorrow. All right? So I want us, as we leave this afternoon, and as we go home and think about this story of Alex Saab, understand that that story is really the story of how we as human beings at a global level construct that global community. Do we continue to accept that there will always be dominant forces, militarily and economic, that completely violates international law at their whim and fancy to advance their interests, and in fact completely use those tools against innocent people? Innocent people. Because the people that suffered were women and children, fathers and mothers in Venezuela, as is happening now in Palestine. So I will leave commerce with that. Thank you very much. And thank you. It's very important.
Say something, we'll finish with that.
Yeah. Thank you, Ambassador. All the familiar faces here, I know we are in 100% solidarity with Venezuela and the cause for the removal of the blockade. Now, I don't think Ambassador from a capitalist country will come out with a community to bring this type of message to us, unless they have a whole lot of security outside. And I must say that that is directly linked with socialism. And if had it not been the principles, the entrenched principles of socialism in Venezuela and Cuba, we will not have been surviving. We will not survive what we want to do, because we don't have that kind of principle entrenched in our people. So in the Caribbean, English-speaking Caribbean, that army officer has won. He's not an African, because all media is sold. They are sold out to America. So much so that our leader of the opposition believed that America should resolve problems domestically. Rather than internationally or the UN should be the US. And as long as we have this language barrier, we will always be separated on the country. And I was privileged, like a few of us here, to attend meetings in Venezuela, socialist meetings, and kind of compassion and passion that you see that they express. I know we are in a bad place in Canada, but we don't have our country, but we stand up for our country and fight. And what was interesting in Venezuela is the power of women in making things happen. And we always think that South American women are backward, who tend to have that expression through media, living in poverty and uneducated and poor health. You know, those are realities. They have the consciousness. They have that consciousness. And what you're doing here, I know that is what you're trying to do. And for the organizations that are here, we always stand in solidarity with you all and we spread the word. And we are not afraid to go public with it. I can tell you that.
Thank you very much.
So you have our support on the mission.
Thank you very much, really. Thank you to all of you for your kind words, for your support, solidarity, for being with us. Once again, also, thank you very much, David, also all of you for allowing us to come here to use these wonderful facilities. I'm already looking at so much potential. You have a library that I need to go and see. There's a treasure that I need to discover. But thank you again, thank you. We have some I call it refreshments. Yeah, there you go. So, light refreshments. Yeah. So maybe we can eat some and continue the conversation while we engage in the eating part. And well, let's continue with this set of activities for a much freer, equal world, especially the equality aspect that you mentioned. And once again, I appreciate it. All the best. Thank you very much.